Hey everyone, welcome back. Well, I want to say welcome rather because I can't say welcome back, it's been that long, but to a special podcast of the fourth quarter pod. I'm joined by Jake as always. How you doing, Jake?
Good. It's been 4 months. I don't know where the time went, but we're here. A lot of things have happened since we said the Hawks were soaring and now they're 10th in the East. And yeah, just happy to be back, to be honest. And it's been way too long between drinks.
Exactly, and you may have heard a little third laugh there in the background, and that is our good friend Stanley from Safety Last. How you doing,
What's
Stanley?
up? Hey man, what's up? Thanks for having me.
Well, actually, I think you're having us because it was your idea to do an NBA all-time draft, which we're doing together today, which we're really excited about.
Honestly, I'm not sure how much credit I can take from that. There was two videos from the NBA official YouTube team, and I'm pretty sure I got this from Bill Simmons from his book. I'm pretty sure he had a section where he talks about drafting an all-time or generational team of basketball players, and it's something always in the back of my head. And I thought, if I can get my hands on a few basketball fanatics, then I'd love to do it.
Yeah, I love it, and you've chosen the right people. I wish I tried to grab a few extra names just before we started, but me and Jake will do. Jake is an absolute nerd, so I can't wait to see how he approaches his team.
Yeah, can't wait.
I can't wait for you to not get LeBron. We'll see.
Oh, fuck. Lose straight away.
So before we start drafting, we're gonna talk about the rules really quickly, and then we'll get into it. So the first thing about this draft is that we are very specifically drafting players, not specifically based on accolades, but we're looking at, if we were to make our personal all-time teams, what players would we take? And with that, we want to talk about what kind of version of that player we would be taking as well. So as an example, we all love LeBron here. You could consider that LeBron has had 3 Hall of Fame careers in his lifetime. His first stint with the Cavs, winning the rings in Miami, and then now coming back to Cleveland and winning a ring, and then his time at LA with another ring there as well. So you can kind of segment maybe 4 Hall of Fame careers. I don't know. Maybe he's just added another one with this Lakers stint. But anyway, you kind of get my point. We want to talk about the very specifics of the player that we're taking as well.
And I think with that, since we're trying to make like the best team, if you want someone to just run the perimeter because you got Magic Johnson or something, you might go for like a younger version. But if you want a more ball dominant, just maestro of the team, then you might go for like 2013 Heat, LeBron James.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah. So that's our number one rule. So we just want to talk about, what version of player we're taking. The second rule is that we're going to be doing it in a snake draft. So we'll do a pick a wheel very shortly to determine the draft order. And then we will draft from there. And once a player is selected, they will no longer be available for selection. At the end of the draft, there will be an opportunity for all managers to propose trades. Trades will have to be a 1-for-1 trade because we do have to maintain our 12-team lineups. But that'll just create a bit of a stir if we send some players for others. It might be interesting. Mm-hmm. And was there anything else, Stanley, that I'm forgetting?
Yes, a few things. Firstly, we're operating by today's rules, so hand checking, that's not something we're playing on, just today's rules. And this is something that I guess we can't enforce 100%, but roughly around like a 35 second time limit, approximately.
Yeah, so we won't be pondering too long on our picks. I think.
And actually, one more thing. Sorry, just to interrupt. At the very end, we will vote for the best team, and we won't be able to vote for our own team. So let's see which team reigns supreme at the very end.
Sounds good. I'm chomping at the bit. Is everybody ready?
Let's do it.
All right. So I am doing a pick a wheel for our draft order here. So the number 1 pick goes to myself.
All right, Michael Jordan. All right, farewell.
I am the number 1 pick. I am going to remove myself from the running, and I am going to spin for our second pick. It is Stanley. So Jake is going last.
Sorry, Jake.
It's all right.
You're losing
you
LeBron.
guys need the handicap. You guys need the handicap.
That is definitely not wrong. So that does mean that Jake gets to pick third and also first in the second round.
Oh God, this is a tough position.
Luca, for the Google Docs, I'm just gonna move your name to the first, so it's just easier.
Perfect.
And I'll put myself in the middle.
All right. Is everyone ready?
I'm ready to
Yep,
go.
it's rock and roll.
All right. So I am the number one pick, and I, at the small forward position, am going to be taking LeBron James as my number one pick. And I will be.
Did not expect that.
I can't believe after all these years of tussling, you've taken LeBron, the MJ stan. I know you've always appreciated his game, but I thought Michael Jordan for sure is coming out here. But fair enough. I respect it. You know how I feel about that.
Me and Jake have spoken at nauseum about the Michael Jordan versus LeBron debate on podcasts, in different group chats, and even personally, just between ourselves, and we kind of always go back and forth on this. And I personally think Michael Jordan is the GOAT. He's the basketball GOAT. He's untouchable. But I personally believe, after having watched LeBron and come around to his just supremacy, that he's the most well-rounded basketball player we've ever seen physically, and just what he's capable of doing on the court. I mean, I could have drafted him at point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, or center. And just to have that versatility on my team is something that I just need to go with. So definitely not a mark against my stan and fandom of Jordan. It's just LeBron's my guy when it comes to a player perspective. And maybe not surprisingly, I'm also going to take LeBron during his Miami years. I think he was probably the best defender in the world at the same time during that stint, and he was robbed of probably a defensive player of the year. You can see, during that stint, he was like a 5-time all defensive first team player, while, winning rings, and was just an animal on both sides of the court. So I just don't think I've ever seen a better player than that Miami stint LeBron.
I just want to add to that as well, Luca. That 2013 year, he averaged 27, 7, and 7 on 57% field goals, 40% from three. As you said, he was unquestionably the most versatile defender in the league, who'd guard 1 to 5, and the Miami Heat won 27 games that season. So that was a version of LeBron that is just like, if you made a player in 2K and you put all the sliders up, like that's what he was doing.
Basically.
And I'm fairly certain as well, he had a 7-game streak where he averaged 30 on less than 15 shots a game, over 60%. Like, he was just, the efficiency and the dominance was on another level. But yeah, I just wanted to add that to that 2013 year.
Yeah, perfect. But yeah, that's my number one pick. So I'm gonna now hand it over to you, Stanley, to pick who I'm presuming to be.
All right. Well, I'm not on camera, but I am wearing a Michael Jordan 23 jersey, so that might give a hint of what I'm going for. LeBron James, obviously, like everything you said, there's really nothing to disagree. The only difference, I think, between LeBron James and Michael Jordan is, I think Michael Jordan has a more rounded offensive game without the ball. I think LeBron James often resorts to LeBron basketball, which means you have Dirk or Bosh flaring out, or he never played Dirk, but basically these big men who leave the center of the floor, and he's always been very ball dominant. Now, it makes sense because he's either number 1 or number 2 of all time. But to me, I love the fact that Michael Jordan has more of an off-ball game. Maybe not so much with the three-point shooting just because of the errors, but he can come around picks a little better, or I would say like noticeably better. But hey, honestly, Michael Jordan or LeBron James, it's really hard to go wrong. But I think because of the Michael Jordan offensively, I think it allows more rooms for like centers like Shaq and stuff, or if I get him, or Hakeem Olajuwon or whatever like that. So I'm picking Jordan. Not surprising, and I'll go for the 1990 or 1991 version, the young but decently experienced version.
Yeah.
So, Jake, I throw it to you.
No, I respect that. And your comment about LeBron being ball dominant is 100% true. He's a system unto himself. When you're that big and that strong and you're a playmaker, and LeBron not having guys like Scotty and Phil and Rodman and a functioning organization in Chicago, like when you compare it to his first stint in Cleveland, LeBron's going to be the show. So for better and for worse, we see that now. But I digress because we could talk about that for ages. I've always said my Mount Rushmore is LeBron, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and Kevin Durant, which might come as some surprise to a few people, but those are the 4 best basketball players I've ever seen. No one can convince me otherwise. It feels like sacrilege not to pick Kobe here, but I've got 2 picks in a row, and I'll probably consider him for the 4th, but I'm going to take Kevin Durant at power forward. So I'm going to go for a more versatile lineup.
I was really hoping to grab Kevin, but I knew you'd have him, so...
Yeah, like, what can I say? He's the best scorer of all time, and I know we've just spoken about Michael Jordan, but we've got a guy who's probably 7'1", who, it says he's 6'10", but he's 7'1" in my book. He's got a guard handle. He can pull up from 30 feet. Every square inch of a hardwood basketball floor is his hot zone. I watched him drop a 49-point triple-double against Milwaukee last year, not to mention averaging 35 on LeBron's head in 2 finals in a row. People hate him for the move. I hated him for the move to Golden State. But since leaving, I've just been able to appreciate how good this man is. If not for major injuries, he'd be the leading statistical scorer of all time. He'll probably still come close. I don't need to say anything else. Kevin Durant at my power forward. If you guys wanted to say anything there before I make my next pick.
What version of Durant you taking?
Oh, yeah, sorry. I'm probably going to take the 2021 version of Durant. What I saw him do last year and the ease of which he did it against guys like Giannis in that setting with no one, and the fact that his shoe size is the only reason he didn't make the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't know how I can pick another version of that Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
And also after that, going to the Olympics and being the clear-cut, far and away best player in that whole tournament, he's unbelievable. So I'm going to take the second-year Brooklyn Nets version of Kevin Durant.
Love it.
And moving on, honestly, this snake thing has kind of got me. I'm shaking here because I don't know what to do. But oh god, I've got so many different options I can choose. I'm going to go for versatility yet again, and probably not a guy who you'd suspect at the number 5 all-time ranking if you go off how many, or 4 all-time ranking if you go off how many people we've chosen so far. But I'm going to go Hakeem Olajuwon at the center position.
Yeah, good.
And that version of Hakeem, all you need to know is the 90. I think it was 94 and 95, or 95 and 96 when MJ wasn't in the league. He was the face of the NBA. Him and Kenny Smith and co. I think Robert Horry was on that Houston Rockets team. When Jordan wasn't in the league, Hakeem Olajuwon ran the NBA. He's one of the most graceful post players of all time. Defensive versatility. He had a bit of a jumper. I think if he played in this day and age, he'd be even better. So I'm going to take Hakeem at the 5.
That's a huge pick.
That's I mean, the spacing of Kevin Durant and then Hakeem Olajuwon. It's it's hard to beat.
I know.
Cool. Anything else to say to that, Jake, or am I good?
I think we're good there.
Cool. Hakeem's a hell of a pick. Kevin Durant. I really wanted Kevin Durant as a running man.
Yeah.
I think Jordan and Durant on the wings would just be electric. Unfortunately, I can't do that. So, talking about unstoppable, obviously we're throwing a few names around. Kevin Durant, Hakeem Olajuwon, the 2 back-to-back championships. Like, he was just unstoppable. But I think another person within this realm of being unstoppable is Shaquille O'Neal.
Great pick.
And
Great pick,
I'm taking him. I really think if you had a pissed off Shaq for one game, like really annoyed, he's just so big and so large. And also something that was actually very underrated about him was his ability to kick out to perimeter players, which is why in terms of playing style, him and Kobe Bryant actually meshed so well together.
Yeah.
So Shaq, I can throw up crazy numbers like, didn't he average like 35 and 17 against the Pacers or something? in 2000. But I'll go for the MVP year. He was just honestly unstoppable.
It's a surprise that he win more than one MVP, and that I've always said on record, if Shaq had an elite mentality, maybe not on a Kobe Bryant level, but if he had that, I want to be the best player of all time mentality, I think he would have been the undisputed GOAT because he won
Me
4
too.
rings without trying, And if you think about how many points he scored, how long he lasted in the league, how big and unstoppable he was, if he just applied himself physically and took care of his body and didn't eat, shit, I think he would have been the GOAT, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, just on that idea, just imagine if he averaged 70% from the line.
Oh, dude,
It
crazy.
just, honestly, we need to outlaw this guy. Like if he did that, that would be just out of control.
Crazy.
But yeah, Luca, throw it to you.
So now I've got the back-to-back situation here, and you might like we've taken 5 players at this point, and this guy that I'm about to pick is definitely not who I would consider the number 6 all-time player, but there is a reason why I want to take this guy, and there might be a bit of recency bias here, but seeing them play together has just been absolutely beautiful. And I'm going to be taking the chef, Steph Curry, at point
That was my
guard.
next pick.
Huge.
That was my next pick.
LeBron and Curry, can you stop, please?
Yeah, just having seen it in a couple of All-Star games
Holy
now,
shit.
it's just what Curry did in that last All-Star game is definitely some massive recency bias, but just knowing how LeBron plays and how beautiful Steph is off the ball, just makes them a match made in heaven. So we talked about that ball dominance that you get from LeBron, and rightfully so, but Steph is just that perfect player that slots in on the perimeter, and is going to just light it up. He's always going to be an option for LeBron to kick out or come off a screen. So just seeing them play together has been spectacular, and putting them on an all-time team together just feels broken. So I'll be also taking... this is a tough one, but I feel like I'm going to take Steph in his... probably last year's Steph.
I agree, 100%.
Yeah.
Over 2016.
Over
100%.
I think he's made massive strides over the years as a defender. He's become much more, I don't know, energetic on defense, and I think his steals have gone quite up, have increased over time. So he can read things a lot better, and I think he just has given more kind of time and energy for defense. So I've definitely seen him improve as a defender, but also there was just something about those years in like 2015, 2016 when he won those unanimous MVPs and stuff like that. That was a lot of hype and talk when you consider the fact that Curry was really irrelevant until maybe about 2013 or so. And so I think this was like just the electricity of Curry at the time, I think gave him a bigger than Ben-Hur kind of personality in the NBA. And I think he's actually played his best basketball from an efficiency and also just leadership perspective the last couple of years. This year has been really, really weird. He came off, he was on such a hot start, great trajectory. And I think that kind of trying to get to that record threw him off a little bit. So I like him last year a lot because he was hyper efficient, was carrying bums to a play-in. Just what Steph did last year was huge.
Yeah, the fact that last year was the first time he showed his ability to carry a team without Draymond and Clay, Draymond was there for parts, but I'm saying that stacked Warriors team, the fact that he got him into a play-in spot and nearly got into the playoffs, averaging 30 a game, I thought that was his best year by far.
Interesting. It's a compelling argument. I would still probably... I mean, it's really hard. 2016, he had a much better team, and it's always hard to compare one-on-one. But hey, you make a compelling argument, and his stats for last year were 32 points or something. So
yeah, he was.
2016 or 2021, they're just both electric. It doesn't really matter what you pick.
Exactly. All right, I am also going back to back here, and you see me going to the power forward position, and this is someone that I just feel like is going to just lock down defensively. He's going to give me perimeter scoring, and he's going to be a massive presence inside. He's my second runner-up, or he's my runner-up to greatest power forward of all time behind Kevin Durant. I'm taking my boy, Tim Duncan.
Oof.
And I'm going to be taking the early 2000s Tim Duncan, where he won 3 MVPs, won 3 chips, was averaging something like 20, 25 points a game with 12, 13 rebounds. He was just, an animal, and it's very easy to overlook how good this guy is and has been over his career. Mr. Fundamentals is just going to give me everything I need to space my team, do all the right things, and also just be an animal inside.
Good pick.
Best,
Great pick.
best power forward of all time, probably.
Yeah, I mean, good. Can you call him a power forward? Like near the end of his career, he played center a lot.
He did, and I think you can still call him that because of his mastery of that bank shot and his versatility to space the floor a little bit, and also the fact that he played with David Robinson. Towards the end, obviously, he was such an elite defender and had made such good decisions and had such good skill that he played that modern 5. So I guess in that respect, you can call him a 5 as well.
There was one memory from Tim Duncan that actually sticks out to me. I think it was against DeAndre Jordan in 2014. I was watching it live. It went to overtime, and obviously Duncan is like much older, but just his mastery of his fundamentals, pump fake, spin, he was cooking DeAndre. And I remember watching that and thinking like, this is one of the greatest of all time.
And we're talking about DeAndre Jordan when he was relevant. But I mean, all he did back then was catch lobs still, but like he was a young, athletic big guy that, should be running circles around aging Tim Duncan, but yet.
Definitely.
Nice one. On to you.
Okay. I've got two that come to mind. But what I'm looking for with this team is just players who don't monopolize the ball. To me, that's really important because you have so many good players. I want the ball moving. I want players who have that IQ and that can spread the ball. And with this, I am going to go with Larry Bird.
Nice.
Just his, I mean, I'm not really sure I have to say much about Larry Bird. Great shooter. He's like Luka, except he's less ball dominant and probably a better passer. So I just love what he brings. And his IQ, like, I just think he is one hell of a package. So I'll take Larry Bird. And with the selection up 85, 86, one of those years, 27, 28 Larry Bird, in terms of how old he was, I'll pick that.
I also like that you've taken a version of Larry Bird that kind of is in the kind of stronger, once the NBA really started to kick off a little bit, being in the mid 80s, like anything pre 83. I wonder why, but yeah.
Pre-Jordan.
Anything pre-Jordan is kind of a write-off for me. But anyway.
People forget that Larry and Magic built this league, or brought the league back from the dead before MJ made it what it is today. So yeah, Larry is one of those guys that gets forgotten about because there's so many great athletes now and so many good players, but that's one hell of a pick.
Are you going with Jake?
Look, I've got Kevin Durant, Hakeem Olajuwon, and in many respects, Kevin Durant can get his own shot, but I want a guy who can set them both up and put them in the right positions. And I need some leadership as well, so I'm gonna go. And Luca, I know you can tell who I'm gonna pick.
I think I know who you're going for.
I'm gonna go with someone who I think, and this might be a very bold comment, is the best point guard.
I know exactly who this is.
And this guy doesn't get spoken about at all, but he's probably he's the greatest point guard of all time in my opinion.
Can I guess?
He's gonna end up. Yeah, you can.
Are you taking Chris Paul?
I'm taking CP3, Chris Paul, my point guard. Like again, I can't say enough about this guy. Like when you look back at his playoff box scores and averages, if you see how he actually played in those series and the luck that he's been dealt, whether it be Lob City Clippers not being the championship team we thought they could be, or him hurting his hamstring, or whatever the case may be. When you actually look at how Chris Paul played and plays and continues to play, he's never had, from memory, a bum series. He'll give you that sort of 20 to 25 points a game, be one of the best defensive point guards in the league, give you that 10 to 12 assists. And yeah, I just think any team with Chris Paul on it is going to go very far. And I can't speak highly enough of him, given I've picked him and with my third pick overall.
Do you think he's better than Curry?
As a point guard, yeah, because
I agree.
Curry's best attributes is obviously his scoring and his difficult shot making ability. And the thing that separates Curry from a guy like Dame Lillard, let's say, when Curry's off the ball, he moves. You cannot
for
stop.
sure.
Like he just you cannot contain him. So that's what makes Curry great. When you have a guy like Draymond Green and David West back in the day setting him a double down screen, he's coming off that and hitting like a 11 out of 10 difficulty three. That's not necessarily a point guard. That's just a scoring guard. So when I say point guard, I'm being a little bit, technical, but that's how I sort of see it. And then, did you boys have any comments about that before I make my next pick?
Which are you taking? Hornets, Clippers, Houston, or Suns? CP3.
Oh my god, he's been good everywhere. I'm probably going to take Clippers CP3 because I feel like he had a lot of iconic playoff moments, but that's not to say that the Houston version or the young and spry New Orleans version weren't dominant as well. I just think at that stage of his career, he could do everything. I harken back to that, I think it was 2013 or 2014 in that first round against San Antonio when it pushed it to 7. I don't have his numbers in front of me, but I think he was averaging something like 27 points, 10 assists, and 7 rebounds, and he had that game winner on the buzzer in Game 7. I think that version of Chris Paul was the only thing stopping him was himself and his body. So I'm going to take like 2014, 2013 Chris Paul.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I agree with you. It might be kind of outrageous to suggest because he's just not spoken about enough. But I do really think that from a pure point guard perspective, he's the best I've ever seen. From a leadership perspective, and the fact that what Steph gives you like off the ball and shooting wise, I guess Chris Paul gives you in defense. And his ability to survey the court and lead, like it's incredible, like how good he is at that, while being just someone that you can rely on to get a bucket as well. I love it.
No, definitely. And look, we're at a point now where Kobe still hasn't been taken, so I'm gonna do what David Stern didn't allow and put Kobe Bryant as my shooting guard.
Oh yeah.
Nothing else needs to be said about Kobe because again, we could talk about this for 10 minutes. He's the MJ 2.0. What can I say, guys? Like, can you help me? I don't know what to say about Kobe Bryant. 5-time NBA champion. When he won 3 in a row with Shaq sort of belittling him and making fun of him. Kobe basically had that FU mentality. Lakers were toiling. They couldn't even make the playoffs. And then in that 07-08 year, they trade for Pau Gasol. They make the finals. They lose to Boston. Kobe comes back with Pau and wins 2 more championships to beat Shaq's 4. So he's unbelievable. Rest in peace. Scoring 60 in his last game. He's just an unbelievable player. A top 3 player in my opinion. So I'm going to take Kobe at the 2. And era, oh man, that I know Kobe scored 81 in 2006, but that 09-10 Kobe, when he had that sort of like black mamba snarl and he was just like some fucking matured wine of a basketball player.
I love it.
Vino, like when I watch those old Kobe Bryant clinics where it's him just like in the post, turnaround J's, fast break dunks, 360 dunks. He had everything. So I'm going to take the 2009 version of Kobe Bryant.
I love it. That's such a great version of Kobe, especially when he's just, as you say, like matured like fine wine, and that's what his game looked like as well. It just looked so refined.
Yeah, he's one of the few players, and you know how much I love LeBron. I don't even think this about LeBron. When Kobe was on the court, there was a genuine fear. You were scared of playing Kobe Bryant. Like I got goosebumps talking about it. He was something else. The Black Mamba, unbelievable.
Hey, I love the great pick. I mean, I can say this for every single person, but that's one hell of a pick.
Thank you.
And probably just last comment on Kobe. For better and worse, I think a lot of times this helped him, and sometimes it actually detracted.
Yes.
Probably the person who hit the most tough shots of all time. Like the shots he was hitting was just absurd, and sometimes he was over reliant upon his scoring ability. But the fact that he can do pump fake, spin, in your face shot is just unbelievable talent.
Crazy.
Just mastery. With this, okay, so I was scared that someone would pick this up because I really like how these two players work with each other. So O'Neal is kind of an inside player. Like he doesn't really have much outside the paint or like really far away from the 3 point line. So I want another big who can space the floor with some shooting, and I just want someone who can clamp down the middle. Whether that's like show on picks or just play good defense for any guards who are doing pick and rolls. And I think since 2000, the best defender, in my opinion, is probably Kevin Garnett, and then maybe number
Ooh,
two, Draymond Green.
ooh, what a
So
pick!
I
Oh,
just think O'Neal, he can dominate, and if you want, a 15-footer, 18-footer, you have Garnett, and defensively, he was just like superb. So I'm taking Kevin Garnett with my as
Both
the power
both
forward.
Kevin's gone.
holy
Yeah,
shit! What a pick! What a pick! Oh
That
my
I
god.
love that.
yeah,
He's one of my favorite players of all time. That guy will give you
easily.
30 and he'll lock you down. And he's an animal,
Mm.
unbelievable player.
Yeah, and worst comes to worst, if you want to run small ball, I mean, is he not the perfect five?
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I'll take Kevin Garnett. In terms of era, I guess there's the Boston Garnett, which is fantastic. There's also the 2004 Minnesota when he won the MVP. In terms of athletic defensive, like his defensive presence, he was probably better in 2004, but maybe a little more experienced in 2009, 2008. Ultimately, I don't think it's a wrong pick, but I'm going to go for 2004 Garnett.
Great pick.
I love it. All right, well, I'm back to back here, and I've only had time to really think about my first pick, and then I'm really kind of thinking about who I take next. But this is another player that has played with LeBron and spent significant time playing with LeBron. And I feel like I need someone to help my poor boy Steph Curry out there on the perimeter. I know LeBron can help him there on defense, but this person is going to be out there. He's going to be a dog. He's going to be an animal defensively, and he's going to get his bucket and just be lightning on the fast break running with LeBron and Steph. And funny I say lightning because I'm taking the Flash, Dwayne Wade.
Wow, I like that.
And I'm taking that little period of time, Dwayne Wade, just before LeBron got there, like 2008, 9, 2010 Dwayne Wade, where he's got a chip, he's a bit more mature, and he's averaging something like 30 points a game, and he's NBA all second team defensive player. He's just going to do it on both sides of the court, and he can take control of the game basically when he wants to, but he's also going to be he's probably preparing for LeBron to get there and put him into that second person, that second best player on the team role. So yeah, I just love how this team is going to work together, and also just the familiarity some of these guys will have together. And I need someone to help Steph on the defensive end.
Mm-hmm.
Can't knock that, bro. Flash in his prime. He was a 30 clip. People forget that 2006 series against Dallas when they were down 2-0. And Dwayne Wade single-handedly brought them back. He was hitting threes. He was attacking the rim. Most blocks all time as a shooting guard, I believe. He's an unbelievable player. One of my favorites as well.
Just overwhelmingly athletic in terms of athletic ability. I mean, the Flash is just such a perfect nickname for him. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. I'll never forget that dunk on Kendrick Perkins. He had
Oh my God.
drove base, spun middle, and yammed it with two hands on a 7-footer. That's probably one of the best dunks I've ever seen, honestly.
Some of the dunks that he's had are just unbelievable. Yeah, like don't. Yeah.
When he made Varejão's hair just like rock back, it was just like holy shit.
But he walked over him.
Yeah, that was insane.
Just in case people didn't know, he just decided to walk over him as well.
It's crazy.
All right, so I'm in a tough position here. There is someone that hasn't been taken that I feel like I should take, but I'm not going to. And obviously you can see that I'm hovering over center here, right? So people might be thinking about this guy. It's like, why has he still not been taken? But I don't want to take him. Instead, I'm going to go with the Admiral, David Robinson, at my 5.
Oh man, quadruple double, man.
quadruple double man, one of the last men to do it, maybe even the last man to do it.
Yeah, I think he was.
The reason why I take David Robinson over someone whose name is still not up here, and I wonder when he's going to get picked, is because he spent more of his time during a very competitive era of the NBA, which was that 90s. And in the late 90s and early 2000s, he was an NBA champion twice. Obviously, Timmy D had come in, and he was obviously towards the tail end of his career there. But he was just incredible. Like, I think he was all NBA nearly at every point throughout his career. He was the NBA defensive player, multiple all NBA defensive teams. So I don't need someone that, because my team is able to stretch the floor so well, everybody is able to shoot from the mid range, from three. I feel like I really want someone to just be an inside paint presence that is going to swat shots and also is just going to score at will down there, just with his size. Obviously, he's going to have to compete against people like Shaq, but I think David Robinson's got it in him, and he did it obviously. So I love the versatility he gives me on the defensive and offensive end, but without having to necessarily space out, because Timmy D is going to be able to do that really well.
Can you just imagine David Robinson or Tim Duncan grabbing a board and kicking it out to Dwayne Wade on a fast break? And then you got 2013 LeBron just running down for an alley-oop, and then you got Steph Curry trailing for a three. Like, that fast break will be unbelievable.
Yeah, you're not
unstoppable.
Holy shit.
I'm really creating a rim running team here.
That's insane.
But and in terms of kind of what era of, I know he won his championships in the back end of his career, but I really think the early 1990s where he won MVP in 95. So yeah, I like, not to put a specific year to it, but just that early 90s where he was Defensive Player of the Year, MVP, and was just a absolute presence inside.
Yeah, great pick.
You're up.
Do you, or did you pick Dwayne Wade and David Robinson, right?
Yeah.
Pick two. Okay. I could pick the hypothetical center that you hypothetically thought about picking. I feel like I know. I feel like I know which center you're talking about. The thing is, oh man, it's really hard because he's such a good pick. The thing is, oh man, this is really hard. Because Shaq is so dominant, I want him, out there for as long as possible. When I look at my team, I think Larry Bird is fantastic, though there are some holes in his games, and that's purely from an athletic ability or just like the era. I want someone who can sub in for Larry Bird, who can stretch the floor, and at the same time can really turn up the defense. So Larry Bird, good player, but I wouldn't call it defensive savant. I am looking for Kawhi Leonard.
Huge.
Wow.
As my pick. I just think for like his ability to shoot. I think there was one year in San Antonio when he shot 40% from the field, and if I want to lock down teams, Jordan, Leonard and Garnett, it's hard to score, and I just think he's one hell of a, if he can come off my bench and play the six man, I think he's, he'll cook people. So I'll take Kawhi Leonard.
Unbelievable pick, man. I had a couple of names here for mine. Obviously, this small forward position is quite important given who's on my roster. I floated with Kawhi. I actually had him open on my internet tab on Basketball Reference, just checking some numbers. I had Scottie Pippen.
Yeah,
I won't say anyone else because I might be giving away some of my best ammunition here. But I'm going to go real different, and a guy that is forgotten about, who was snubbed from the NBA 75 somehow, who I consider a top 25 player of all time. Let me just read you some numbers. 32 points, 6.5 rebounds, 5.5 assists, 1.7 steals, and 1 block a game for the Orlando Magic in 2002 and 2003. I'm talking about Tracy McGrady, and he's going to round out my starting five. I've got Kobe Bryant, Tracy McGrady, and Kevin Durant. That's 100 points between three players. So with Chris Paul leading the charge and Hakeem Olajuwon locking down my paint, I'm feeling good about my five, and Tracy McGrady makes my small forward starting
Your
five.
perimeter defense as well is just
Yeah.
on lock.
Look,
I love that pick.
We're going to get bullied like by Shaq and David Robinson and stuff, but we're going to score like 150 points. So I'm not too fussed about that. And quickly moving over to my sixth man, this is to kind of remedy some of the size issues, but while maintaining that versatility style that I'm kind of going for here. Just to save some time and not talk too much, I'm just going to say his name and move on. Giannis Antetokounmpo is my sixth man.
Whoa, I was in
You're
the
not
mindset
there.
to pick Giannis.
Yeah, I just think like dropping a 50 bomb in a closeout game of the finals, being 27 years old and achieving everything there is to achieve in the NBA already, having multiple MVPs, a Defensive Player of the Year. Yeah, he's an unbelievable player, and the fact that he hasn't reached his ceiling yet, I'm speechless. I've never seen someone this long and skilled and athletic in a very, very long time.
Can I just say, Jake's an NBA nerd because he typed out his last name.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, hold on. The N and the N are in the wrong places, I think. Is it Kunpo like that? I don't even know. I think that's right. I think that's right.
You think? I think you got it right the first time.
Did I?
We'll go with the first spelling and we'll fact check Jake later.
All right.
We'll get him for how many letters he was off by.
All right. Sweet.
All right, over to you, Stanley. What you got?
All right, Jake, you did your picks too quick. Now I'm
sorry.
struggling.
I'm sorry.
Okay, I can see I've got a hole in the point guard position. I am going to. Oh man, good lord. Honestly, Steph Curry and Chris Paul were going to be my 2 point guard picks. Unfortunately, both of you took them from me. I want just because I got a lot of offensive power, and honestly, I could say this for both of your teams as well. I want someone who's like really into distributing, and at the same time is not a liability when it comes to shooting, so that no one can double team. That's pretty important for me. Someone who can move the ball and shoot at the same time, whilst just keeping defenses honest. And with that, I am going to go with Steve Nash.
Great pick.
I had a few other guards. I was thinking of Isaiah, for example, but Isaiah's he's probably a better player, but in terms of fit, I just feel like Steve Nash he's almost a mini version of Curry. Like he's got his own gravity to a lesser extent, but most importantly, he can really distribute, and he can run one hell of an offense. So I'll put Steve Nash as my point guard. Unfortunately, I wanted Chris Paul or Curry, but they're off the board.
Nah, that's a good pick, man. Steve Nash and a prime Shaquille O'Neal will be just. Can you imagine the pick and rolls and then Kevin Garnett popping out for a baseline J, and then Michael Jordan and Larry just floating around? It'd be crazy.
All right, I'm actually I'm not amazed at some of the names that we have up here because they all deserve to be there, but there's just so many players that we've just left off. But there still isn't any reason why I want to pick them right now, which is kind of unbelievable. But yeah, I just find that crazy. But what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna go with an interesting strategy here because I have picked a team that I feel like is defensively incredibly stout, all the way through. The only player that I'd say is lacking in that department is Steph. And so for that reason, I'm going to take someone that is probably not considered a great defender by any stretch of the imagination, happened to be a 3-time NBA steals leader in the early 2000s, but this player is going to be an absolute glass cannon offensively for me when he comes on. And I'm taking AI.
Allen Iverson. When you said the steals thing, I knew that you were talking about AI.
Yeah.
It's interesting. He was... That 2001 series against the Lakers, that was his swan song. That was his year to break out. It was just a shame he couldn't maintain that. I think the size is the biggest issue
Yeah,
in terms of
exactly.
him remaining at that top level. But what an unbelievable pick.
But
Who
yeah,
was the who's the Celtics player? Isaiah Thomas. He's basically Isaiah Thomas on steroids, right?
Hmm.
Like instant offense. You want 15 points. Just throw in Allen Iverson. You want, like, 20 points, 25 points. I mean, he's one hell of a pick.
he's going to be an absolute heat check for me off the bench. So, and that's what I feel like my team needed a little bit. Just someone to come out and be. I mean, you can't go wrong with any of these picks, but just for like the what I'm trying to do with my team, what I've got with my team already, I think AI would be like a beautiful player to come in and just like I'm happy to take a hit defensively to rake in some off the bench scoring.
For sure.
And with my next pick, I am going to go with someone that is, I guess, fairly similar to a player that I already have, but just is going to be a beautiful sub in for Timmy D or David Robinson. And my second bench player is going to be Dirk Nowitzki.
Damn it. Damn it.
Damn it.
Like I'm taking 2011 Dirk. I don't think that surprises anyone. NBA champion, NBA Finals MVP, NBA All Star, you name it. He did it, and so he's just gonna be be able to sub in anybody. At that big man position, whether at power forward or center, and give me exactly what those other guys are giving me. Maybe, albeit less defensively, but on the offensive end, they're going to stretch the floor just as much. They're going to be just as a threat as anybody else. So I could even swap Dirk and David Robinson if I really wanted to,
Yeah.
and play with that starting lineup.
And I think, with this, it's really important to have players that they can do multiple skills, right? For example, if we do David Robinson and Patrick Ewing, they're great players, but in many regards they overlap. So I think Dirk Nowitzki really spaces the floor out for you. So it's a great pick.
Definitely.
Your pick, Stanley.
Is my turn? Yeah. Okay. So, I am okay. So I have two small forwards, and like as I said before, Kawhi Leonard brings a different type of game to Larry Bird. Larry Bird didn't shoot many threes, just because of the era. But Kawhi Leonard defensively, really slots in there nicely. I am going to go with a modern player. I mean, we've been picking modern players, but I really like this dude for his ability to run the offense, and that's really important to me. Like someone who can pass the ball, keep the offense flowing, and he gives Shaq a um, basically, if I need Shaq off and someone to hit free throws, I'm taking Nikola Jokic.
Wow. I like that.
Um, to me, it just the touch, just the passing with Larry Bird and Nikola Jokic. I feel like in many respects he does what Shaq can't do. He can space the floor. He can run an offense like legitimately through him, and he can close games because he's a decent free throw shooter. So I'm taking Nikola Jokic with this pick.
Dude's averaging 27, 14, and 8, carrying a team without Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr., and doesn't get more than 2 seconds of airtime. Respectfully, Joel Embiid has been on an absolute tear this year, and if he wins the MVP, I'll have nothing to say about it. But the fact that Nikola Jokic isn't sort of held up in that same regard for whatever reason, whether it's Denver being where they are and not a popular franchise, or I don't know, his personality just being more Euro low key. This man is unbelievable. He's on LeBron and Magic level type of court vision. He might even surpass them in terms of what he sees and how he delivers his passes. And I think the turning point for Nikola Jokic was he started to enjoy being a go-to scorer. I remember a couple of years ago, there were quarters, I'm talking quarters, where Jokic wouldn't attempt a field goal. And he was the best player on the floor. And people were like, what's wrong with Jokic? The man is feasting on being the number one guy, and his bad games are like 18 points, 18 rebounds, 11 assists. Like that's a bad game for Nikola Jokic. When you really think about that, that's just like unbelievable. And also, he's actually a good defender. It's just that the 5% of defense that he's not good at is the 5% that people look at. But when you talk about positioning, when to hedge, when to commit, like operating on a team scheme defense, he's actually an elite defender. And the numbers show that as well, but he's just not that guy that's going to jump up and swat the ball. So you think he's like some Teletubby Serbian, like just chubby, but he's actually a really good defender. So I really like that pick.
Hey man, you sold him better than I could, so
Sorry,
I agree. I agree 100%.
Yeah. So, boys, with mine, I know I just picked Giannis to try and fortify that defense a little bit more. I know I've got Kobe and Chris Paul and Hakeem, but I'm going to go for somebody else who's defensive orientated and in the same sort of ilk as Chris Paul in terms of a playmaker, but he's more of a forward role. So I'm going to read you some numbers from a season where this man averaged, and by the way, these numbers don't pop off the page, but stay with me here. He averaged 14 points, 9.5 rebounds, 7.5 assists, 1.5 steals, and 1.5 blocks. This year, he shot 39% from three. This man had to face LeBron James and Kyrie Irving in 2016. And in a game 7 of an NBA Finals, a game that no one will ever remember unless someone mentions it, he had 35 points, 12 rebounds, and 9 assists. And the only reason we don't talk about it is because the Golden State Warriors lost. I'm talking about Draymond Green. I know this might feel like a reach, but I feel like Draymond Green is the ultimate winner, the ultimate competitor. He can play 3, 4, or 5. He's going to defend anyone and everyone, and he's going to be that link between the players. You put him on the high post, you have him setting screens, doing handoffs. He's just the ultimate winner. And I just think any team with Draymond Green is going to be a good team, and that's why I'm taking Draymond where I am here. So what do you boys think? Do you think it's a bit high, or can you see where I'm coming from?
It just I just want to say, based on some of the names that we still have on the board, like it just seems wild that we're talking about Draymond Green being on that team, but we really are talking about building the best team. And yes. I think Draymond is absolutely someone that needs to be on a team that you're talking about, like as, your optimal top 12 players. Like, as you say, he fits into the scheme so well. He's a leader. He's a born leader. And he's going to do all the dirty stuff that other players won't do. So I love Draymond for that. And I think you really see, like you really saw the impact of not having Draymond consistently for the Warriors. And that was last year's Warriors. They lost in the play-in and didn't make it any further than that. So Draymond I think he's the true leader of the Golden State Warriors. So love that pick.
No, definitely.
And if I can just insert some stuff, I really judge people or their understanding of basketball on their take on Draymond.
Yes.
If their understanding is he averages 12 points, 13 points, and I'm like, yeah, you don't watch the games. You don't understand.
No, I agree. And boys, I'll be honest with you. Like, I've got a couple of names here, but we're getting down to that nitty gritty where it's like, do I pick someone on name bias, or as Lucas said, I'm trying to win a 7-game series here. So like, I don't know really what to do here, to be honest. But by the way, if I didn't make it clear, 2015-16 version of Draymond, the year he had that big game.
Yeah.
What do I do here? What do I do? Someone please don't set the timer. Oh God. All right, I'm just gonna go with what my gut told me because I'm honestly stumped here. I'm gonna take a guy in his 06-07 season with Seattle and arguably the greatest shooter of all time. But again, there's a couple of big names. I'm going to take Ray Allen. That year in Seattle, he averaged 26, 4, and 4. He was quintessential to Boston's 2008 title, and he was also an elite role player on that Miami 2013 title. He's a guy, again, similar to a T-Mac, but he had the health, but he gets forgotten about, Rookie year averaged 13, then he averaged 19, 17, 22, 22, 21, 22, and he just averaged in the 20s for like 15 years. So I'm going to take Ray Allen, glue guy. He's going to get me buckets, and he's great off the bench. So that's my selection.
I love that pick.
Yeah.
You just, like having that shooter like off the bench again, like kind of like an AI glass cannon. I love it.
For sure.
And, with skills like shooting, I mean, this is an obvious comment, but like they translate, whether you're touching the ball or you're not, like shooting is a skill which benefits everyone all the time. So, hey, Ray Allen is one hell of a pick. You can't have enough shooters on the team.
For sure. Definitely. I agree.
Okay, I'm up. Oh man, there's there's a lot of picks, but I feel like with this, honestly, it's probably criminal that the fact that this person's been on the board so long. But to me, I think he's arguably a top 10 player of all time. And I can rest Steve Nash and still have someone carry the offense, you know, perfectly. So he doesn't have Steve Nash's shooting, which is why, I'm always trying to pick players with different skill sets. But in terms of like size, I'm pretty sure you know who I'm talking about in terms of size.
Yeah.
But Irvin Johnson,
You
just
you burnt me so bad with that pick. I'll tell you. I'll tell you why in a second. But continue.
but I mean, in terms of passing, there's LeBron, Larry, Johnson, and then and then you have other guys like Jokic and Nash, and stuff like that. But his combination of just size, I mean, I'm pretty sure he went to the finals 9 times in his career.
Yes.
Just the ultimate winner in every respect. A little shaky on the three, but if you want anything else from him, I think Johnson is just unbelievable. And I'd probably go for like a let's say like a 25, 26 year old Johnson, like still fresh enough defensively, because I know at the end of his career his defense really started to wane, but at the same time, like, I want a Johnson who's not scoring dominant, which is what he became later on, as he lost Kareem and stuff like that. I really want the peak distributor, so I'll take youngish 26, 27 Johnson.
Like that.
Luca, were you gonna say how I?
You burnt me. You burnt me because he is the kind of player that would have been perfect to sub out LeBron for, and kind of fill that exact role. I don't think I would, if I was, playing my team, I'd ever play them on the court at the same time. But they would have just been perfect to, or maybe in small bursts, so like to cover minute spreads and stuff like that. But he would have been, I would have had LeBron and then LeBron again, but just not LeBron.
Literally.
So obviously not quite as good of a shooter, but still, you kind of get my point there. All right. Yeah, we are really running thin here, and I'm just gonna go with someone who I think was probably, people call him the ultimate teammate, the best teammate of all time, purely because he was a Robin to someone's Batman for 6 championships, and I'm gonna go with the infamous Scottie Pippen. He's gonna come in at that small forward, power forward position as well, and give me 20 points, and he's going to be defensively stout as fuck. So there's nothing more I need to say about Scottie Pippen. I'd probably take him during that second three-peat, because he was a significantly better shooter later, and three-point shooter later in his career. He always had that kind of mid-range, but he really managed to get that three-point up into the mid 30% during those late 90s series. So I really like Scottie around then.
You don't want to take Scotty this year after he burnt every bridge available? You sure you don't want to change?
Nah, yeah, I'll take 2022 Scottie Pippen.
Good pick, man.
I'm also going to take someone that is I'm going against my better judgment here, and I might get flamed for it, because he is someone that I said anything pre 1983 is why would you do that? And just because it's hard to really assess their kind of how transferable some of their skills are and how good they would be in this day and age, because of who they played against and the situation they were in. But this guy is someone that is, I think at the time was really transformative in terms of what he did on the court. And you could tell that he was a great shooter during his time, even though obviously the 3-point didn't exist. He was a shooter. And he's going to do everything on the floor for me as well when I've got him on. And he's going to be a great person to kind of bring in to help facilitate for all these guys that I've got as weapons. And I'm going to take Oscar Robertson.
Interesting.
So he was obviously the all-time leader in triple doubles before Mr. Russell Westbrook came around. And throughout his career, he averaged 26 points, 8 rebounds, and basically 10 assists. So, and if you actually watch some of Oscar Robertson's games, you can actually see that he was, he had range. He was a great scorer, great shooter. And there's not much more that I need to say about Oscar Robertson. I know it's a weird one because he is obviously during the Farmers League, but I think his game really does translate. And so I like Oscar to kind of come in, and especially when LeBron isn't on the court.
I like that.
Good pick. I guess I'm up.
You're up, and he was also a big guy. He was about 6'5" for a point guard. So
yeah, he's a big dude. I am going to replicate something that Jake did. So you can never have too much shooting, and to me, this person takes a very similar role as Ray Allen. Though I think he was a better defensive player, and Ray Allen was probably just a better scorer in general. But in terms of heat check, like I don't know, this person does things when he's on that I've just never seen. I don't think the league has ever seen. And I need someone who can space the floor, can shoot, can defend, the perfect 3-and-D. And I think Klay Thompson really fits that role.
Great pick. I was flipping and flopping between Klay and Ray, and I just think Ray teamed up with my guys is just like pick your poison type of thing. As you alluded to, Stanley, with the ability probably, even though Klay had bigger scoring outbursts, like Ray off the dribble and, being able to get to the rim a bit more fluidly and pull up from mid-range, I just think he's a better scorer. But Klay Thompson, again, we could say he's the greatest shooter ever. I wouldn't really argue with you. So it's a great pick.
Your turn.
My turn. Okay, boys, I'm going to just pick two bigs and be done with it because my team's obviously got a lot of swing players and Chris Paul and, I've got Hakeem and Giannis, but I just want to fortify that position. So I've got two names here, two who you could link together based on teams they played for, but I'm going to take two completely different eras, obviously, of like their career. The first guy being 2009-10 version of Pau Gasol. Pau Gasol is a player that not many people talk about, but when you think about a polished European big man who can shoot the ball, attack the rim, have a high field goal percentage, make the right play, he was the perfect foil for Kobe Bryant. And if someone can coexist with that version of Kobe, I give them a big tip of my hat. If you go back and watch games that Pau played, he was just, a maestro, that 7-foot, silky smooth big man. He averaged 18.5 points, 11.5 rebounds, 4 assists in that year. So without any further ado, I'm going to put Pau Gasol down right now. And secondly, as I do that, I'm going to just lock down the center position. This guy is a 4-time All-NBA player. Oh, sorry, I'm reading the wrong stats. He is an 8-time All-Star, 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, 2 times block champ, 2 times dunk champ. I'm taking D12 Dwight Howard. And I'm going to go with the 2010-11 version where he averaged 22 points and 14 rebounds.
Yeah.
This man took the Orlando Magic on his back in the 2009 NBA Finals, beat LeBron when LeBron averaged 40 in the East semis. He beat the Boston Celtics. Yes, his career went a bit haywire after that, but that version of Dwight Howard was Shaq-level dominant, and I think he's a great supporting big to Hakeem Olajuwon, so I'm going to take Dwight Howard.
Also, can I just say, just unbelievable he did not make the top 75.
He was a big snub.
Yeah. And can I say one more thing? Because being the basketball nerd that I am, and I'm sure you can hear it in the way that I'm saying what I'm saying, I know that Kareem hasn't been taken yet, but I can't take him because similar to your Oscar Robertson selection, Luca, I just don't know how he would survive in this current NBA. I'm probably foolish to think that he wouldn't because he's Kareem, he's won 6 titles, and maybe I'm giving Stanley then his next pick. But for me personally, I just can't pick him. Like, that's just not how I think. Like, I just wanted to put that out there. Yeah. Cool.
I mean, it is pretty criminal that Kareem is still available. But we're trying to build teams.
Yeah,
right.
Team.
Like, if I got Shaquille O'Neal and I got Jokic, like what am I gonna do? Put Kareem at the four? Like
That's the thing.
it's
Yeah.
hard. It's hard to make this work. So who did I have? I had a play and then I forgot. Okay, so with this, I always say this. You know, the more shooting, the better. Um, I, oh man, there's a lot of picks. I am probably going to go with this player, and I feel like Jake is just basically outworking us because he's actually reading the stats. So I'm gonna read a few stats as well.
Sorry.
No, hey, we're all basketball nerds now. I get it, but like um, during Houston, this man ran an offense, and basically was just, as Charles Barkley said, it was potentially or arguably the greatest one-on-one scorer. Now, people might question that. Might throw Tracy McGrady, might throw Michael Jordan in there, but I think this man has clearly proven he can run an offense. And if I need Nash off, I've got Johnson, I've got this guy who can shoot. I'm taking James Harden.
Ooh, huge one. I like that.
I like that too.
Yeah, like his ability to shoot. In many ways, how Allen Iverson comes off the bench and he gets you just points. I really feel like James Harden is that. Like, if you want an isolation bucket, like there's like one or two players, maybe if that, who can do this better. So, yeah, that combined with his assist numbers and his ability to run an offense, especially with the pick and roll, I think Harden's got something special.
For sure.
Nice pick. All right. I keep looking at some of the players that I've had on my list, and I'm looking at like some of the dominant players that I can put in that are going to just kind of really bolster certain parts of my team. But I also feel like I've kind of shot myself in the foot a little bit picking LeBron, because I keep trying to tailor my team around LeBron as opposed to just thinking about some of the other dynamics. But I think for the most part, I've got things working. But I do want to add a player in that has played with LeBron, and I feel like is going to give me, again, defense. And I know I'm going really big here, but I feel like my last two picks after this player are going to be guards, because I've got a lot of flexibility between small forward to center with some of my guys. But I really want this guy, and I'm going to take Anthony Davis.
Huge.
I
like that.
The reason why I want to take Anthony Davis is, again, familiarity with playing LeBron. He is an absolute, and you can hear my dog there in the background. He wants to weigh in on the discussions. I think he wants to go out to the toilet, to be honest, but he's going to have to wait. But Anthony Davis is just obviously familiar with LeBron and is going to really give you that whatever you need, really. 20 to 30, 10 rebounds. He's going to pass. He's going to flare out. He's going to give you an outside presence, and you can play him in small ball lineups, even though I'm not really small, but you might be surprised with some of my other picks after this. But I like how Anthony Davis fits into my team just with from a flexibility perspective.
Health is the only thing that really makes that guy a question mark. Like
Exactly.
In terms of ability, he's one of the greatest power forwards of all time. But these last 18 months have just cast such a dark cloud over him. But he's an unbelievable player. No arguments from me.
Exactly that. And obviously, I'm thinking about this in the context of winning a 7-game series. If after the 7th game he's out for 17 years, that's fine by me. But in those 7 games, he's going to be an absolute animal.
For sure.
Yeah, good pick.
Perfect. And to be honest, in terms of Anthony Davis, I'd probably take him towards that tape. You know that period of time where he played with Boogie? That was crazy. Like that Anthony Davis.
Unstoppable.
Crazy.
Yeah. I love that Anthony Davis, but like obviously he went to the Lakers and won a chip, but there's something about that time where he played. He was healthy, he seemed healthy, and was just popping. So, and this last guy, I'm gonna read you some stats, and you guys are Jake's gonna laugh at me for this, but 25 points a game, 6 assists, 3 rebounds, 90% from the free throw line. 27 points a game, 6 assists, 5 rebounds, 92% from the line. 27 points. 92% from the free throw line, 40% from
Rick
3,
Barry?
50% from field. I'm taking the sage, the age-old sage, Kyrie Irving.
Kyrie
That was
Irving.
Rick Barry. Okay.
Holy shit. Wait, can I just say before you go on, Kyrie Irving, when he's like rational and normal and on the court, is one of the most talented basketball players of all time. I want to make mention of two particular time periods, and I'm not going to sell your player for you, but I watched Kyrie Irving with my own eyes light up San Antonio for 56 in 2015, the regular season, and I saw Kyrie Irving make Steph Curry look like a lumberjack in the 2016 finals. That dude is unbelievable, but please go on, Luca.
No, you basically sold it, and I'm taking championship run Kyrie. What he did with LeBron, like again, I shot myself in the foot picking LeBron. I want to take guys that I know he's going to have great chemistry with, and obviously we're going to forget about the second half to Kyrie's career. But as you say, with everything else aside, when he was coming out of college and going into the NBA, just the way he handles the ball, the way he can play one-on-one is just unbelievable. And to have someone like him, like really deep on my bench, to be like someone that can come in as a guard in this lineup and not have to be defensively stout, I think really works for my team. And him on the ball is probably one of the most talented NBA players or just basketball players of all time, because he's unbelievable to watch, and it's just a shame that he kind of went the way he did. But Kyrie's incredible.
That man could sit on his like lounge for 4 months, tweet about social justice, wave some sage around Barclays, not play basketball for like that whole time, and then come out and drop 38 and do some like double hezzy behind the back, switch, turn around. I'm like, dude, what the fuck is wrong?
It's
just play every game.
It's just it's a god-given talent. It really is.
It really is. He's been dropped from the heavens, but he's just so mentally addled. He just can't stay on the court.
Yeah, me and Kyrie are the same height, the same probably physical stature. So to see what he does is unbelievable. But
for sure.
I digress. Stanley, it's your pick.
Okay. So I'm looking at my team. I have around, depending on what you put Harden, I've got 4 guards: Nash, Jordan, Johnson, Thompson. And if you want to put Harden as the guard, that's 5. I've got 3 forwards and 2 centers. I am, I really feel like if this person doesn't get picked, I just really feel like we're violating some unspoken law if this person is not in one of our teams, like the top 36 players, or maybe that's not the point. We're trying to build a great team, but looking at his numbers, in 77, this guy averaged 34 in the playoffs, 34 points and 17.7 rebounds. And if I want someone to clean up the boards, and arguably the easiest 2 points in history, it's up there with Dirk Nowitzki's fadeaway, Jordan's fadeaway. I really can't leave this guy off. Otherwise, I'm gonna be struck by lightning.
Take it.
So
it's fair.
I'm taking
fair.
Kareem Abdul.
6 rings, 6 MVPs, 25-year career. He's one of the GOATs, really. Like, I just don't have him up there with Kobe, MJ, LeBron, KD, because those guys are just, they do everything. But Kareem, like, what else needs to be said? You know what I mean? He's unbelievable.
For sure.
Yeah. Guys, I'm in a weird situation because I've picked this nerdy team, but if I want people to vote for my team to win, I feel like I've got to pick some guys that like resonate with the fans. I don't know, but I'm going to stick to it anyway. Fuck it. But I'm going to go with a guy who, another one, people, they don't forget, but I want to remind them. And I'm just going to say his name. It's Carmelo Anthony. I'm taking the Denver version of Carmelo Anthony when him and Kobe absolutely duked it out in the Western Conference Finals. The man averaged 28 points, 6.6 rebounds, 3.2 assists. But aside from the numbers, when you talk about the ability to just hit a jumper, the silkiness of that shot, his sort of face-up dribble, pull-up in your face. Like, Carmelo Anthony was one of the wettest players I've ever seen in my life. So there's just another big forward that can get me 40 points, 50 points whenever I need it. Carmelo Anthony is my second last pick. And looking at it now, I've got my forwards, I've got my bigs. I could probably use a point guard. Man, there's a couple of things running through my head here. First and foremost, and again, not to give away picks. As much as he's been asked this year, you could talk about MVP Westbrook. Like that guy was literally dropping 40-point triple doubles like it was nothing. Um, the way I view the game, I just can't pick him. It's not beautiful basketball. It's not winning basketball. You could even talk about projecting some young guys right now. Um, Guys, I'm probably going to take Luka Doncic and just like let the hate come in. But I honestly think Luka Doncic has the potential to be the greatest European player of all time, and potentially a top 10 player, so long as he takes care of his body, because his ability offensively to get other people involved, shoot from the perimeter, all the craftiness he has as that European ISO player, he's amazing. And I think Luka Doncic will do well in my 7-game series.
Mm. He's like just the way his passing ability combined with his 3-point shooting. He's definitely special. And if he can stay healthy, that's I would say that's really the only
Yeah.
question mark. If this guy can
Yeah.
stay healthy, he's like we'll be looking at his like basketball reference page in like 20 years and we'll be thinking like what on earth happened,
Yeah,
because he's going to go 25 for the next like 10 years.
I think in the last month he's averaging something like 34, 10, and 9, which is like better than prime LeBron playoff numbers. Yes, I know there's inflation and stuff and it's the regular season, but it just gives you a glimpse of how good he is. And not to mention, I know he's lost in the first round the last 2 years, but can I just say he was facing Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, and you can make the argument that in both of those series he was actually the best player, but he just happened to face a much better team. And for a 22-year-old to be doing that, I just have a feeling that he's going to take the league by the balls and be a multiple champion. So I think he's going to be amazing.
Great pick. So I guess that rounds out your team.
Yes.
With me, with this final pick of mine, just looking at my team, right now I've got 5 guards. Once again, depending on where you put Harden, I've got 3 forwards, and then I have 3 centers. I want I want a scorer, because I really feel like Kawhi Leonard is just one hell of a defender in the forward position. I also feel like this guy can do pick and rolls with Steve Nash for the rest of my life. And I really think he fills this position. And if worst comes to worst, if we ever get in a fight, I want this guy on my team. I'm picking Karl Malone.
Nice.
Huge.
I just think him and Steve Nash honestly could do pick and rolls until the world blows up. So he just gives me that ability. Screening, he's like, I don't know, he's like the size of a water buffalo. So he's I also feel like he gives me something else that the other players don't do. Like, Bird is like, he's a little different. His game's a little different to Bird. His game's a little different to Kawhi Leonard. So I'm taking Carmelo.
I like that. Unbelievable scoring power forward. Like you said, he's built like a bodybuilder, and that pick and roll he had with Stockton, he was just money from that sort of like 5 to 10 feet range. He can even space out and hit that free throw line jumper. Mm-hmm. And if it wasn't for Michael Jordan, he'd probably have 2 or 3 rings. But unfortunately, he gets remembered for other things these days.
Mm-hmm. Yes, other things.
Yes.
I also think, just to say one more thing, I'm pretty sure he's scored the second most points in basketball history.
Yep.
After Kareem.
I think did LeBron pass him recently? Yeah.
Okay, LeBron passed him. Okay, so 2 or 3.
2 or 3,
depending on where LeBron sits. But
I could be wrong.
Incredible player.
Yeah, for sure.
And Luka?
I'm in a tough spot because me and Jake play a lot of fantasy. We talk about fantasy. So when I look at my team, I look at things like I've got Steph, who's maybe going to be my traditional point guard, but the person who's really going to be running my offense is going to be LeBron. Dwayne Wade's a shooting guard. AI is a shooting guard. Kyrie's maybe will come in as a point guard, but maybe he'll play as a shooting guard depending on who's on the court. So like my team is filled with these players that go power forward, center, like David Robertson, Tim Duncan, Dirk, Scotty, LeBron. Like my team is just so flexible at every point. So I don't know. I'm in two minds about taking a guard here, or if I'm like, do I just want someone to kind of really solidify my center position like a bit more, like just like a bruiser, like. But I feel like I'm gonna go guard here, and I'm gonna go with maybe someone that's a bit more traditional. That's probably gonna get the ball out to all these weapons that I've got. And I'm going to go with the NBA all-time leader for assists. I'm going to go with John Stockton.
I like that one.
Good pick.
I just feel like I couldn't leave him off this list. He's the very last pick, but just with the way I've got my team, like I've got shooting at every single position, and I feel like someone to really come right off at the end and just feed players is what I need. So Stockton was the last available kind of true passing point guard.
For sure. I like that.
All right.
Yeah, and someone who can, really, obvious point, someone who can really distribute and get the ball moving to other offensive weapons.
That's exactly it. And yeah, again, I was in two minds about maybe taking a big here. Like we left some notable players like Moses Malone, Pat Ewing.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I felt like I was pretty good in height and size. So Stockton will do.
Charles Barkley and Jason Kidd as well. I was considering.
Yeah, definitely. Malone was up there. Like I was tossing up between Kareem and Malone. Jason Kidd was up there as well, but I feel like Magic Johnson's just a little more complete version of him. But yeah, there was definitely a few notable ones. Reggie Miller, like in terms of spacing, that's a very similar position to Ray Allen and Klay Thompson.
Yeah.
And also, if we're talking about small forwards, no one picked Julius Erving.
Yes. Again, it's just an era thing for me. I can't pick someone who I don't know would actually have been good now, and like, who am I to say that? I've done nothing in terms of basketball compared to these guys, but I'm just saying, like, I need to see them. Like, I just know that these modern athletes, or I think that most modern athletes would wipe the floor with those old athletes just because of sports science, evolution, the products they are able to wear, like, the shoes and the rehabilitation after the nutrition. It's just a different game. Like, imagine LeBron in the 60s. Like, imagine him versing Bob Pettit. Like, there's no comparison. So I can't take a guy like Julius Erving, even though I probably would agree that Dr. J would have transitioned in this era because he was a big, strong, athletic dude. But that's just the way I see it.
The thing is, like, this is all hypothetical. You never know.
No,
things
that's right.
like Julius Erving, his game was tailored for his era, and if and that's really it. Like, if we decided at the beginning, let's play by 1970 rules. So basically, like, I don't know, everyone forgot about the 3-point shooting. Yeah, I'd take Dr. J as well, but
For sure.
the guy just didn't have a 3-point shooting, and in terms of their body of work, his body of work is probably better than Kawhi Leonard, but can he shoot a 3-point shot?
That's right. Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
Well, I think it's time we all take a good hard look at these teams and vote for who we think team is best. So the rules are here that you can't vote for your own team. Obviously, we all probably would. So what that means is that for someone to win here, two of us have to agree that they have the best team. So let's see if we can make that happen.
Okay. Well,
Oh man.
I'll go first, and I'm gonna, like, I promise I'm not playing the diplomat here, but it's really hard to pick between you two because when you look at how good these lists are, it's hard to, like, decipher, like, how do you make, like, Kevin Garnett and Tim Duncan versus Shaq and David Robinson, like, those two against each other, like, how do you make that difference, But for me, because Luka has 3 of the 5 guys I could put in my all-time starting 5 and has gone for chemistry, Stanley, I'm going to have to give Luka the nod because we're going for a 7-game series. But again, I'm not dismissing the players that you picked. And, like, if they faced Luka's team in a 7-game series, I'm not sitting here saying they're going to lose. But it's so hard because there's only 3 of us. But I'm going to have to go with Luka. Maybe it's a bit of LeBron bias. Maybe it's the way our minds think. But I just think that starting 5 with those guys coming off the bench. I mean, the one criticism I would have is that he doesn't have a lot of three men. Like he's got Scotty and maybe Oscar Robertson could play the three, but he's got enough there for me to say just
It's because
Luka
LeBron's on the
over.
court. It's because LeBron's on the court all the time.
Of course, of course.
That helps.
And I've been thinking in fantasy, like you look at my team, you know, you could put a lot of SG, SFs or PF, SFs
Yeah,
next to
exactly.
like I'm such an interchangeable type of player. So
Exactly.
I'm gonna have to go Luca. I'm sorry, Stanley, but
No, don't be.
by an ass hair, just very close.
Mm.
Do you want to go next?
Luca,
Stanley?
have you made your decision? Because it is really hard. To
It is.
choose between.
It is very hard. I haven't just yet, but have you? Are you ready to give your?
I haven't. That's why I was trying to throw it to you.
Okay. All right. Give me a quick moment here.
That's all right. Take your time, boys. I come to conclusions quickly.
All right. I'm gonna go. Again, yeah, playing the diplomat. You know, we are really splitting hairs with these teams. Like, obviously, there's only the three of us, right? So we managed to really pull from like the greatest pool of players ever with so little of us, and build these teams. And it's interesting because if we're doing this with a few more people, there's going to be significantly more of some of the names on there that we would have expected to see, which we spoke about. But there's something that I like about this person's team that is just screaming to me, and it's the fact that so much of the defensive presence and just strength comes off the bench as well. It's just unbelievable how this team can kind of interchange players without like missing an absolute beat, whether it is you need scoring or whether you need some big men that are really going to hold down the fort. The only criticism that I have for this team is that I don't think there is, in some instances, enough playmaking. It has a couple players that I see that would be really good, but otherwise it probably lacks a little in that department. But I think it's just so stout and interchangeable that I have to go with Jake's team. Just Chris Paul and Draymond can probably handle most of those duties. Then you have Luka coming in right at the end, but just depending on how you kind of play things, a little light in that point guard area. So that's my only criticism. But just like Kevin, Hakeem, Giannis, Draymond, Powell, Dwight, Melo. That's not. I haven't even touched Kobe and Chris Paul. So like just the way some of those rotations are going to happen are just pretty beautiful.
And you know what? Can I just say that's a great point because I'm just noticing that now. To answer that, I'm kind of putting a lot of stock in Giannis and KD to have some ball handling duty.
Yeah.
But you're completely right. Like I got down to my last pick and I was like, oh, I've only got one pure point guard, so I need to get someone in there that can actually make a pass. And Luka was a pretty good option.
Yeah, I like it. But yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Jake's team. So
Stanley
1-1.
Stanley has all the power.
I'm the decider.
Holy shit.
Oh man. Okay, well let me play diplomat for 1 second. Like, firstly, these teams are so good that like it's really hard to say which one is better. Like it's just so difficult because as Jake said, I'll just take his example. Durant, Hakeem versus Garnett, Shaq versus Tim and David. Like, what does that actually mean on the NBA court? Oh man, I once again, it's really damn hard, and it's by hair. I'm probably going to go for this team only because I think I really like the bench unit with this team, and to me it just offers just a tad, like an inch more versatility, and I am going to give the nod to Luka.
That's fair.
Let's go.
I think the only criticism I could say is the in terms of, or actually what Luka brought up before in terms of handling the ball, but I mean it really comes down to, I think, for a game with this, like who heats up. You know, if Curry
Sure.
heats up, then you know Luka wins the game. If Jordan heats up, then I win the game. And if Kobe heats up, then you win the game. So it's it's really difficult. I just really like I think Anthony Davis is one hell of a pick. You know, I could obviously say that about picks that I've done or picks that you've done, Jake. I just the tiniest fraction of an inch, I'm probably going to say Luca.
Yeah, and you know what, boys? Honestly, like I take offline, I take my team against anyone. I'm really confident, but I took a team that was like not necessarily always the biggest names, but a certain style that I want to play that I think is going to win. So when you look at Luca's team, like even I'm looking at the starting five, I'm like, holy shit! Like, how am I gonna beat Luca's team? And I got Dirk Nowitzki and Anthony Davis coming off the bench. But yeah, no, I totally respect that, Stanley. Like that could have gone either way for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's the main point. Like flip a coin, and whoever gets hot wins the game.
For sure. Any of our teams, honestly, like it's so hard to pick.
Yeah. Time to put it to the test in a future episode where we go in 2K and create these teams and
that would be
play
unreal.
each other.
That would be unreal. Holy shit.
Yeah. I'm not even sure that some of these players are unlocked. Like, does 2K even have like Kareem? Is he even a player?
I think you can get him. Yeah, there's classic teams. Yeah,
Gotcha.
there is. Yeah.
All right, boys. Thanks so much for jumping on and doing this. Like I said, as Luca actually introduced at the beginning, it's something I've been thinking about for ages. Like, and those videos, those NBA videos, I just think are so good. And you can. It's just so fun building a team and trying to work chemistry and work play styles. And yeah, it was really, really fun. So I appreciate it.
Nice to speak with you, Stanley, and thanks for reigniting the fourth quarter pod. It's been a busy last few months, what with COVID, Christmas, New Year, new jobs. Not that that's any even excuse, but we've been given a reason to hop back on, and it was a good podcast, so I appreciate it.
Awesome. Anything else, Luca?
No, I think you guys hit both of my kind of finishing remarks there. Jake kind of jumping in on reigniting the fourth quarter pod. I love that we're back. And thank you so much for kind of coming up with this and getting us involved in this exercise. It was definitely a fun little kind of way to flex our basketball knowledge, but also kind of try and put pieces of a puzzle together. And for everybody that's going to check us out and watch our video, I know some of you have been dying and waiting to watch us. Thank you. Hopefully you enjoy it, and please check out Stanley's podcast as well. Safety Last. I don't know if you want to plug what your pod is about just before you head off.
Oh, thanks for that. It's just really me talking about anything that interests me. So there isn't a specific theme, unlike fourth quarter, which is obviously basketball related. I jump from pop culture to history to politics to philosophy to sports. So honestly, anything that tickles my fancy, and hopefully the goal is to bring informative and enjoyable conversations. So if you're interested in that sort of stuff and just pop culture or history or sport, anything really, check me out at Safety Last on Spotify. So thank you, boys.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, and we'll catch you for the next basketball one in whenever that is.
Yes,
Looking
sir.
forward.
All right.
Looking forward.